we're not sure why our plants don't grow, right?
Mm.
Maybe it's like we say like, oh, why aren't I on fire? Um, well, it's like we just have to look, I think, a little bit more closely, right, at our practices. Um, and that's hard because there's billions of dollars at stake to make those things addictive.
Have you written these down? We're on a roll. But that's all. That's so true. And the discontentment is fed by all this stuff that we're talking about, all this media, all this input, and you're talking about the crowded voices that are coming. It's because of like there's so much messaging, and like you say, it's even internal, isn't it? Like you don't even those messages help push us over the edge. We're already standing on the edge of discontentment and wanting more. It's probably something that's all of us. And I find that what's interesting about that is there's another side that each of us, I think each person here, we're all quite, I don't know whether the right word is high powered, but we all want to move and grow, all of us, right? I don't want to stay where I am. Rowan's kicking butt in all these different ways. So's Michelle. So's Deb. So's all of us are all trying to move, aren't we? Um, we're all trying to go somewhere. So I'm finding as well, in some ways, I have to be a bit discontent with my current situation. Otherwise, I won't strive. I won't put the effort in. But it's what you're talking about. It's harnessing that in the right ways because I think I'm already standing on the edge of that, trying to balance the discontentment slash go forward. But then all of a sudden, I get a few pushes left and right, and now I'm all in. Rowan, you got something to say, buddy?
Love what everyone's sharing, and Michelle, what you were sharing as well. I don't. I especially love the fact that we're reducing. We have the choice to reduce distractions, so we can remove things like social media or news or other things in our life. We can choose to do that, and that's reducing inputs that are distractions, and that are atomic habits for us in kicking off things in our mindset. And so, if there are ways to integrate um, uh, prayer and praise and being connected to God in a really intentional way throughout the day. Um, I mean, it might look like we're on fire, right? And we're reducing distractions, but it has to be habitual, and there's a frequency there that we, could start to adopt. And that's really, really hard to do with juggling all the things. I don't know, all the things in our lives. Um, and so there can be some intentional things that all the forces on our lives it can be managed in some way. That I think, and I also it sort of makes me reflect, like we are. It's a blessing for us to, in many ways, to be carrying a thorn in our side, to be carrying something that brings us closer to God, by way of persecution or distress, hardship. We are blessed because we have God, and it brings us closer to Him, and we know that that's the way that He works in our lives. So the fact that we're you know struggling with anxiety and medication and those sorts of things, there's God's definitely giving us opportunities to be close to Him. In many ways, we have the option to, I guess, build a way for us to obey, and have that frequency reinforced to obey Him. It needs to be part of our lives, and integration is a big part of that. Friends are a big part of that. I find it, though, difficult to measure the on fireness that I felt when I was 18 to now that I'm 37, and all the responsibilities and pressures and all that sort of stuff. Like, it just feels like I will, that's what I have to go and achieve again, in terms of every day being committed to helping others, to church, and to praying every day, reading every single day, reading with others every single day, unpacking something every single day. That there's this, from a frequency point of view, conversely, it is really difficult to feel like that's where you need to be. And let's just say we don't. Let's just say we don't have to be like that. Is not on fire for God. Um, and and if we have the potentially we have the Spirit to confirm in us. That our conscious confirms what God is doing in our lives right now. That through other people and through the word, when we do read that what is happening in our lives is because of God's grace. And we can start to pull the pressure off a little bit. And then we have so much pressure in our lives. Like I've shared many times about the guys that are going through some difficult things. There's so much pressure in our lives right now. Um, we don't um, we don't have to we don't have to keep applying more pressure.
It's really good, Rowan, what you just said there. Like, something that I think that in all that we talk about, when we think about the ignition of faith, right? I actually think the answer in the end is going to turn out to be really quite simple. It's actually a simple set of things that as we go through this, we'll discuss it more. But the part of that to me, that's a measure of that simplicity, is that the yoke is light. So to your point, Rowan, I think that
Mm,
we don't need any more pressure. We don't need any more whips. We don't need any more guilt. We don't need to be told this is where you are and this is where you need to be. Um, you know what
mm,
I mean? We don't need to be uh, uh,
yeah.
told our level of participation isn't enough. Our level of involvement
Mm,
in a building or in a ministry. You know what, mate? We're tired. We are all tired. So I think that one of the measures of what we're talking about, and I know that this is we'll say to ourselves, well, what does this actually mean? But if we could just stay on this sort of a little bit higher plane, that we want to, whatever we suggest to do, make the yoke light, right? And I'm not talking about copping out as a Christian, but the yoke is to be light, because the rhythms that we need to establish have to be there has to be longevity, right? Um, so yeah, being kind. You said you got to be a bit kinder to ourselves, take the pressure off,
mm,
and not whip ourselves, not expect ourselves to be like Adrian talks about that a lot too. Not the old me was this, and he used to beat himself up a little bit about comparing to his uni days, but come a long way to go. No, that's just that's not relevant. I mean, sorry, it's a picture, but it's a picture relevant to that time, and the picture today is different.
um, it's very very hard to see the change of season, isn't it? Like that when we're under a lot of pressure and God's doing different things in our lives, we're sort of like, it's like that frog that is in the boiling water, but it doesn't feel it, right? So it's hard to sort of move through seasons under pressure, but be thankful and grateful and grow um, um, in our Christ likeness, the way that we deal with it. It's so hard. It's so hard, and there's definitely defining moments, and you can feel like you're on fire when you feel like you've achieved like understanding. There's wisdom. We've been blessed with wisdom, and it becomes a little easier to overcome things. But yeah, it's a great reminder that the yoke is light. Like it's easy to forget, and it's a great reminder.
Do you recognize any part of your life that chokes some of the joy or whatnot? That's question number one. Question number two would be, which I want us all to discuss if we've got a chance, is what do we do about it?
Sometimes I feel choked because certainly because of time, um, uh, to act in some sense of, I guess, freedom. But then there's this sort of selfish pursuit that can be driving that rather than um, uh, you know doing mission or something like that, or committing more time to helping others. I think that um, sometimes there's a weightiness when you spend time with God over a long period of time, um, and I miss the dwelling in His Word, no distractions, um, pursuing and waiting for those things. I'm choked of the time um, But there are other things. There are things that replace that, um, that I'm reminded of quickly, and uh, that is that's just something that's really hard to cultivate. I think is um, I guess, yeah, spending a long time dwelling on things, praying for things, without the pressure of needing to complete a full circle and arrive to a moment and then overcome it and then move forward. Like tick, done. Let's go. Let's like Bible study's done. 1.5 hours. Let's go. Move on.
Life for you feels pretty full. Like, if you were standing you know, in a swimming pool, and you're walking into the deep, right? A comfortable level might be chest high, that comfortable level, and then comfortable levels where the water's sort of here, and really uncomfortable levels when the water's like halfway up to your mouth, and you're kind of breathing by standing up like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Is
100%.
the description for you like it's not that there's any one bad thing in your life, but life is so full. It's just so full that it's
Yeah,
the water level's uncomfortable.
that you overcome in those depths. Like when you're completely broken, you've got people around you to like help you, and that doesn't happen in like half an hour. That just those defining moments happen over time.
More than 80% of us would be saying, "My life, I'm on my tippy toes in the swimming pool." You know what I mean? Like, and what we would all say to that too is that I'm not greedy. I'm not trying to conquer the world and have everything. I'm I'm just trying to get by, and I'm trying to live a good life. I'm trying to help people, and like I'm not trying to be like it's not there by fault of greed per se, if you know what I'm saying. It's just life's happening, and why is the pace so fast that I'm on my tippy toes in the swimming pool catching a breath? I mean, you know what I mean? And if you look at each one of those areas, they're all good. None of those areas would you say, for example, time with family, time with friends, the work you must do to make a living to support life. I mean, how is any of that wrong? And one of the measures of that top being so full of time is how much time do you get to spend on a hobby? Do you have any excess time to spend on yourself?